Welcome back to 2 and 5 Scoop Podcast. We are here after a little bit of a break last week. We had the holiday. Things were very, very hectic, so we didn't get a chance to put out anything last week. So we're sorry about that. Very exciting week in football this past week. We saw some real nail biters. How's your Thanksgiving, Asher?
No, it was a lot of fun, a lot of good food, a lot of good football. Hope
Yeah.
you enjoyed yours. I hope everybody watching had a good Thanksgiving week,
Yeah.
little break.
Yeah, it was very eventful. I mean, I was home for the week last week, and I swear to God, the first 4 days I was home, I got home on Friday. I got the chill Friday night. Saturday, I was doing leaves all day. Sunday, I was doing leaves all day because
Mhm.
we were hosting Thanksgiving, so we had to make the yard look good. And of course, me being home, my parents were like, "Okay, you can do all that." So the first
Yeah,
4 days, I kind of spent running errands, doing yard work. I don't know what it was like when you were home. I don't know if you were still at Temple some days. I don't know how you did that because I know you're not too
I,
far
wa-
from
I
Temple.
was working. I didn't get off from work the week the Temple was off, so I was coming back to Philly for work, and then I was going back home
Hmm.
doing things
I
there.
figured
So
I figured it was something like that.
yeah,
But really, really nice week. I really enjoyed Thanksgiving Day football. I think that was the most I enjoyed watching football on Thanksgiving, like in a while. That Bills Lions game was really, really exciting in my opinion for
yeah.
what it
I
was.
mean, and that's a product I think of this being the most exciting Lions team we've seen in a few years, and the
Exactly.
Lions always having that early Thanksgiving slot.
Hmm. Yeah, it was nice to see the Lions really put up a fight. It was really unfortunate. I think Dan Campbell kind of fumbled at the end of that game with the time management and stuff, but I think things are looking up in Detroit for once in a long time. But enough with the small talk. We'll get straight to it. We got our hot takes, the usual. Start at the bat, Asher. I want you to give me your lock for this week 13 with a lot of exciting matchups.
All right. As much as it hurts me to say this, I've got the Cowboys over the Colts as my lock.
Okay. All right. That's
Colts, after an impressive first game versus the Raiders, putting up a fight against us, they just seem to be reeling at this point. Jeff Saturday seems a little bit out of his depth, as you would kind of expect from a guy that hasn't coached at college or NFL level. And the
mhm,
Cowboys are firing on all cylinders right now. They're really doing everything they can to push us for that NFC East crown. And
mhm.
unfortunately, they catch a Colts team that's just not playing their best right now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for
Okay.
us, I mean.
I agree with that, but I don't have the same lock. My lock is the Ravens over the Broncos. This isn't because the Ravens are good. The Ravens are kind of a very fluky team to me. I mean, that game last week against the Jaguars, not a very impressive game, especially very surprising seeing Justin Tucker miss that field goal, even though it was like a 67-yard field goal or something like
67
that.
yards. Yeah, would have
But
been
I
a
mean,
NFL record.
I don't want to hold Justin Tucker to such a high standard. It was a 67-yarder, but at the same time. I don't know. I see the Ravens a little bit fluky, but even more so, the Broncos. The Broncos have the best scoring defense in the league, but they had the worst scoring offense. I think Russ is just. I don't think the issue in Denver is Russ. I think it's the coaching. I think the coaching is the real issue. I think Pete Carroll is the root of the success that Russell had at Seattle. I think Pete Carroll had a big play in that. I mean, we're seeing that this year with Geno Smith. I think Pete Carroll's just a really, really good coach, and Russ just kind of flourished in his system. So if they can get Nathaniel Hackett out of Denver and replace him with somebody like Pete Carroll, we'll see. But that's my statement on that. I got the Ravens being the Broncos. The Broncos are just a sorry team this year. So yeah, Asher, your straight
Well,
picks.
I would love to segue that into one of my hot takes.
Oh, okay.
I don't the next week the Denver Broncos play the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. I do not think Nathaniel Hackett will be the coach of the Denver Broncos for that game.
Wow. Okay.
That's my
I like that. I like
yeah
that. Is that your hot take for this week?
yeah
Wow. So you think he's gonna be fired after this week? You think it's
I
gonna be
do.
that embarrassing against the
I
Ravens that's gonna be
yeah
enough?
like you said, this is a Ravens team that is inconsistent. I mean, things seem to fall through for them in the third and fourth quarters very often,
Hmm.
as we saw against the Jaguars.
Hmm.
And so this is a team that is vulnerable. And I think the Broncos are just going to go in there and lay an egg enough, probably lose by 20, 25 points. And I think management's just going to say, that's it. We don't want you coaching against our division rival on national TV and embarrassing us even further.
Yeah, and even then, I think for that week, that's a Sunday night game, if I'm not
It is.
mistaken, right? So they're looking that week. The Eagles play the Giants, and I heard rumors. I mean, did I have that right? December.
Because they might flex at the prime time. Right?
They were talking about flexing the Eagles game to prime time
Instead
because nobody wants to see the Denver Broncos on primetime TV again. We've seen them like 3 times this year. I swear, nobody wants to watch that football. I'm sorry, but anyway, I agree with everything you're saying. I think I like that hot take. Honestly, that's a really nice hot take. Now I'll bounce right back to you with one of my hot takes, which kind of has to do. It has to do with one of your locks. I said that the Colts are going to make Dallas sweat a little bit. I think it's going to be a little. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think.
One score game, maybe.
I'm thinking it's a 1-score game. Yeah, it might be like a 28-21 thing. But I think the Dallas I think the Cowboys are going to have to score like it's going to be 21-21, something like that. They're going to have to drive down the field, score. I'm not saying a game-winning drive, but I'm saying there's going to be. It's not going to be as close. It's not going to be as far apart as people think.
Okay.
And I just think the Colts are kind of they have fight in them. They're not playing their best football, but they damn sure have heart. I think Jeff Saturday has done a great job with that organization, kind of reinstilling kind of some hope. I mean, he really put up a fight against the Eagles.
Yeah.
When we faced him, let's not forget that the Colts also beat the Chiefs earlier this year. I mean, this Colts team, while they're like you said, they're not playing good football. I think they're still a team that you shouldn't just dismiss. I don't think you can do that quite yet, especially with Jonathan Taylor in the backfield.
Yeah, hard to look over. I don't think Saturday's a great strategist at this point in his career. His very short career, but he definitely has some heart in him. He had it in his playing days. I think you're right that he has instilled some hope in that Colts team.
Yeah. How about Asher? We'll go back to the straight picks, and then we'll wrap up with our hot takes. But one of your straight picks.
I've got the Vikings beating the Jets.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, so they bounced back from that Cowboys loss pretty well. Tough Patriots team. As you know, I like that Patriots team more than most people, and they did a really good job with them. The very good defense, and they just made it look like not a good defense. And I think the same thing happens with the Jets this week. I think that Vikings offense is very dangerous when they're all firing on all cylinders and they're all playing well together. I think Stephon Diggs has a big week this week against Sauce Gardner. Maybe Sauce Gardner's worst game of his career.
Oh,
that's not part of my take. I just think that might happen.
Okay.
But overall, I just have the Vikings beating the Jets.
Okay, that makes sense. One of my hot takes, both my straight picks are both revenge games. So I got the Browns. I'm going to shoot you both. I got the Browns beating the Texans. That's nothing to be too surprised of, but I think Deshaun Watson does really well in that game. Not a part of my pick, but I think Deshaun Watson comes out. He might be in a little bit of a slump in the first quarter because he hasn't played football in 2 years. So it's been a while. But I think the Browns pull it out over the Texans. I think they win that game. And then the second one is the A.J. Brown revenge game this weekend. I got the Eagles beating the Titans. I don't think there's anything else.
We'll get more into that, obviously.
Yeah, we'll get more into it later. But those are my straight picks for this week.
Cool. Let me throw out my second straight pick. I've got the Washington Commanders beating the New York Giants.
I like that pick, honestly.
Yeah, this is a bit of wishful thinking here because the Giants still have one game over the Commanders. So having them drop one game kind of evens things out as far as them below us in the NFC East. It also kind of gives some more legitimacy to the Commanders. Our one loss on our schedule, and with the Giants still coming up, I think that would make us feel better about those two Giants matchups.
Yeah.
Overall, this is a momentum thing. The Commanders have just been playing really good football, and the Giants seem to be kind of on their heels a little bit.
Yeah, the thing is with the Giants, the one thing I would note with that prediction is that's just how banked up they are. I mean, if you look at their secondary, if you look at their injury report, their defense is decimated right now. Both of the starting cornerbacks are out. Their one safety, I believe, is out as well. And then they got injuries to the offensive line, I'm pretty sure. They got the injury bug. And I think their 6-1 start, they've only won one of the last 4 games. I think that's just a result of the injury bug and their defense just not being in full strength. And I think their lack of depth is kind of hurting them right now. So I like that pick, honestly. And in my pick 'em, I do have the Commanders also winning that game straight up. Now, I've said one of my hot takes. You said one of yours. I'm going to talk about that Vikings-Jets game like you just said. I think Mike White strikes again. I don't know if the Jets are going to win this game, but I know Mike White is going to do damn well. I got Mike White going for 250 or more passing yards and 2 or more passing touchdowns. Um, I just think we'll talk more about this later. I really want to talk about it. But I think Mike White is a much better quarterback for the New York Jets than Zach Wilson. Uh, Again, we'll go deep dive later, but from going back to last year, his game against the Bengals last year, and then now seeing this, what he put up last week, crazy, absolutely crazy. I love Mike White. I'm a big fan of him, but I see him really flourishing. I'm not sure if it's a win because again, that Vikings team has some fight to them, and they will bite right back if you bite at them. So yeah, Mike White strikes again, has himself a game, win or loss, doesn't really matter to me. I just think he's going to perform well.
Okay. It's a good one. It's an interesting
Mm-hmm.
one. All right. I'll throw one of mine out. The Chargers-Raiders game this week. Chargers defense, even with the additions of Khalil Mack and J.C. Jackson, I think J.C. Jackson got benched like pretty early into the season. He was playing so poorly.
Mm-hmm.
Just not up to expectations.
Mm-hmm.
The Raiders have, at least offensive-wise, have kind of been coming on lately. Josh Jacobs is going on a tear.
He's now the leading rusher in the league over Derrick Henry.
Yeah, that is impressive. He just broke the franchise record for rushing yards in a game, and I think him and Adams combined for 250 yards. Jacobs rushing, Adams receiving. I know with how good he's been doing, that might not be considered a hot take. So if you want me to push that up to like 300 yards, I'm cool with that too.
It's your take, man. I don't
Right.
like it. You want to say that? Hey,
I'll go 275. 275.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to. Yeah, I lost my train of thought. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Go ahead with yours.
Yeah, so my last hot take is for tonight's game against the Bills and the Patriots. Division game. I think this game goes down to the wire. Last time these two teams faced off, it was not close at all. It was in the wild card round last year. I believe the final score was like 47-17 or something like that. I think this is a little more different. The Bills have kind of they've been kind of on a slug recently. I think I'm not sure what their record is in the past 4 games, but I know they lost 2 in a row, and then they had a weak performance last week against the Lions.
Yeah.
I think this game goes down to the wire. I think this is one of those exciting Thursday night football games, a rare exciting Thursday night football game.
Yeah.
Where this kind of goes down to a game-winning drive or a game-winning field goal or something like that, or goes to overtime. I think this game is going to be tight. I think the Patriots are really going to give the Bills some trouble. I think this is going to be a game that kind of really exposes the Bills. I mean, they struggled last week against the Lions, the worst defense in the league. How do you think it's going to go with the Pats, who have, I would argue, a significantly better defense than the Lions? So we'll see what happens, but that's what I believe. That's what I see happening tonight. I think it's going to be a very close game.
Okay. Is that your pick?
That is my pick. That is my last hot take. Now, on to the real stuff. This past weekend, we saw the Eagles defeat the Green Bay Packers with a score of 40-33. Lots of exciting stuff. Jalen Hurts broke the franchise record for most rushing yards in a single game by a quarterback, which was formerly held by Michael Vick, which is really interesting. And then on top of that, Jalen Hurts is the first quarterback since 1950 in the league to have at least 150 yards rushing, 150 yards passing, and 2 or more passing touchdowns in a single game. That sounds like an ESPN type stat, which I think it's really specific, but at the same time, it's still impressive to see that, especially when 100 of those rushing yards came in the first quarter. So, but Asher, what were your overall thoughts? Do you feel more confident in this team now than the past few weeks where we've kind of been struggling? Do you have more confidence now? I mean, for me, at least I do. I feel more confident about this team now.
Yeah, I mean, I can only gain so much confidence from a one possession, like a 7-point win versus a team that's really been struggling this year. We looked better than we did against the Commanders and the Colts. It really doesn't say much. One takeaway I have from this is that I think that was probably the most exciting game to watch the Eagles have played this year. And that's kind of the nature of we blew out a lot of teams in the beginning of the season. But
Right.
I think that game, even when the AJ Brown fumble or like the Packers coming back from down 13-0,
Right.
I think it was
Mhm.
just like a fun football game to watch.
Yeah, I think that was definitely the most fun I've had watching an Eagles game this year so far. I mean, that's probably the most fun I've had since the Vikings game week 2.
Yeah.
I would argue because this like since that Vikings game, it's been like yeah we've won, but like there's nothing. I don't know. Like I just didn't feel as good after those wins as I do after this one. I feel great after this win. Putting up 40 points, great. Seeing the Eagles rushing attack be absolutely lethal,
Hmm.
that's fantastic. And it makes me question why the Eagles kind of strayed away from that because I think the last few weeks we've kind of seen the Eagles go more passing the ball, and I don't know why Steve Steichen likes to do that. That's just me. The coordinators here, for some reason, like to go away from what's been successful. And I
Hmm.
get teams get film and you need to adjust, but at the same time, don't adjust unless teams start stopping it. Uh,
Yeah. If it
anyway,
ain't broke, don't fix it.
yeah, exactly. If it's working, keep doing it. So yeah. But with that said, with all those records being broken and with Jalen Hurts having the performance he had, I want to bring up the question. And we've kind of talked about this briefly, but I don't know if we ever made it like super serious. Does Jalen Hurts have a serious, I mean, like a serious case for MVP this year? And can we consider him a front runner in front of guys like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes? Can we do that yet?
I think we touched on this a little bit in the midseason
Yes.
award when we are doing the awards show.
Mhm,
Uh, I think I kind of still feel the same way as I did back then. I think he's number two. I think Mahomes is significantly ahead of him.
mhm,
Mahomes leads the NFL by 700 passing yards and I think 7 passing touchdowns, which is absolutely absurd.
mhm.
I still think the one thing working in Hurts' favor is a little bit of voter fatigue. I think the voters like to see a new up and coming guy win MVP.
Mhm.
But honestly, at this point, I just feel like Mahomes' lead is way too significant for anything outside of an injury to lose him the award.
Okay. That's a very fair argument. Honestly, I agree with you. I would love to put Jalen Hurts as the front runner, but Patrick Mahomes is arguably, I mean, I think by the end of his career, we could probably compare him very closely to Tom Brady. I think Patrick Mahomes is more athletic. He's a more athletic Tom Brady, in my opinion. He still has to get the accolades. And he's a very smart guy. He has a lot more to do to really say he's better or equal to Tom Brady. But as of right now, where his career stands, what he's only 6 years into his career. He has 2 MVPs. I don't even know all of his accolades off the top of my head, but he has a whole he has so many accolades. He's
Yeah.
been so successful in this league in such short amount of time, and it doesn't look like that's stopping anytime soon. So anyway, so that's that. I agree. Um, sorry, I'm having a brain fart.
I
With
mean,
that
it's
being
still
said,
Hurts,
yeah.
I think, has the number 2 MVP odds. So it's very likely that he ends the season on the AP second team All NFL, which
Mhm.
is like the beginning of the season. That would just be mind blowing.
Yeah, I mean, let's not. Yeah, I agree with that. I think we can't be so quick to forget that at the end of last year, people were still questioning. I mean, it's very, very, very much in question. At the beginning of this year, before the season even started, still very, very much in question whether or not Jalen Hurts will be the starting quarterback for the Eagles week 1 in the 2023 season.
Mhm.
That answer has obviously has been answered by now, but to think how far we've come in 13 weeks. I mean, we're thinking at the beginning of the season, okay, maybe by the end of the season we might have an answer. Now we definitely have an answer. And I think we should all be very prideful and we should be very, very happy that we found our guy in Jalen Hurts. Hopefully he's here to stay, unlike
Yeah.
Carson Wentz. But I mean, Jalen Hurts, great quarterback. I think does he have potential in the seasons coming to kind of put himself up there with Patrick Mahomes, or do you think this is kind of like a fluke season? Do you think?
Like in future seasons,
Yeah, like do you see this level of play from Jalen Hurts continuing in the coming seasons? Like, can you continue this for the next several years, or do you think it's just kind of we put the right pieces we put the right pieces around him, he's kind of flourishing with set pieces?
I don't really have an answer to that. I was more confident 3, 4 weeks ago that that would be the truth. But I feel like even in the Packers game and especially the Colts and Commanders games, he has regressed back to, at least passing wise, the way that he was last season, where
Hmm.
he's an excellent rusher. but it's kind of like one look probably to A.J. Brown and take off, even if the pocket's clean. We're turning against a Packers defense that was kind of just parting the Red Sea for him, but that's not always going to work.
Right.
So I need him to play the way that he did against the Vikings in week 2. I need him to play the way that he did against the Commanders the first time we played them. For me to really be confident that he is going to be an MVP candidate going forward.
Yeah, listen, we got this weekend, A.J. Brown revenge game. I think all the pieces are set for him to kind of have a big passing performance this week. Now, let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball. Last time we talked on here 2 weeks ago, we were talking about John Gannon, and I went on a whole rant about how much I hate him as defensive coordinator. Since then, we have seen adjustments made. They picked up a couple guys. We talked about them briefly. I honestly, we got Ndamukong Suh and then
Linval Joseph.
Yeah, Linval Joseph. But with those two pieces, we were hoping to see some adjustments, some improvement with the run defense, and I think we have seen some improvement, especially against Jonathan Taylor. I think we only held him to like 42 rushing yards or something like that.
Yeah, very impressive performance there. Little less so against A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I want to come back again and just touch on what our thoughts are on Jonathan Gannon. For me, I'm a little bit more satisfied with the job he's done. I mean, as long as we're not giving up 200 yards rushing every single game, we're actually able to like put a stop to it when it matters. That's all I really want. But from what I've seen the past couple of weeks, I have reason to be happy with Jonathan Gannon right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, the Packers, like putting up 33 points to that Packers team. The Jordan Love touchdown, like first possession, he comes in and just because I think the Packers had four drives that were like 5 plays or less.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's the Blankenship interception that kind of saved us there in the red zone on that possession.
Yeah.
Jordan Davis might come back this week.
Yeah, he was just
very nervous to play Derrick Henry. I'm kind of frightened, like very frightened.
Yeah. I'm scared as well. I don't know. Like this is why I'm bringing it up, because this week is going to be a real test, whether or not there's any like real material there for like believing that he should still be here next year, or like he should be off the hot seat. My whole question is has he done enough to take himself off the hot seat? And from what it sounds like, Asher, I don't think you're satisfied quite yet to take him off.
No, not after that game. No, he's on the hot seat, definitely.
Yeah.
He's going to get a big boost if Jordan Davis is able to come back this week. But
at the same time, my thing is with Jordan Davis is, do we rush him back? He's a really big guy. He's young. He's powerful. Do we rush him back because we're playing Derrick Henry, or do we preserve him and have him there? I mean, it's kind of like the Joel Embiid question that we raise all the time. Mm-hmm. You know, like he's a big guy. He's powerful. He's talented. Do we preserve him for the final stretch? I mean, we got the Cowboys game coming up, you know, on Christmas Eve. You know, we got Saquon Barkley coming up against the Giants. You know, we got Saquon Barkley twice. Yeah, twice in the final 6 games. So do we preserve him for these really important division games? And we're going to talk about that later. Really important and significant division games. Or do we just play him against the Titans and rush him back? If it's even rushing him back, really. Because he just got cleared yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was cleared. Was he just cleared yesterday?
I'm pretty sure that's when the news came out. It was either that or Tuesday, but still, it's like it was kind of too late in the week for him to return to practice and be up to speed. I mean, he hasn't played in a few weeks, so you know what's his conditioning looking like? I mean, has he stayed in shape? You know, these things I worry about, especially with such a big guy like him. I mean, he's massive. He can hurt himself easily. You know,
I think it wouldn't hurt to be safe and maybe put him in only on clear running situations. Like if the Titans have a 3rd and 2, obviously you want him in there.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think it maybe a little more the snap percentage he was getting at the beginning of the season when he wasn't a starter, but we were just kind of rotating him in.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be, I mean, I definitely, if he's available, I want him playing against Derrick Henry.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I just am cautious with those kind of guys because Jordan Davis, I loved him ever since we drafted him. I'm a UGA fan, well ish. I pay attention to college football, but I'm a Clemson fan. I'm a UGA fan, and a Penn State fan. So I mean, I'm not like a fan to one team, just
Right.
kind of by affiliation. But anyway, I've watched Jordan Davis in college. He's a like massive dude, and I loved him. And I don't want us to burn him out that quickly and kind of ruin his career by continually like re-injuring himself. You know, that's perspective I come from. That's why I'm saying that's why I'm so worried about rushing him back. You know.
Yeah. I mean, were there? Did he have injury concerns at Georgia?
Yeah, he
Did
actually,
he?
I believe he did. Now it was hard to follow that because with college, like, there's not a weekly injury report.
No.
Like,
Okay.
like, like I usually get notifications for NFL injury reports. For college, it's like they play or they don't play. It's
Oh, I
not.
see.
I don't think it's as public. And to
Mhm.
be honest, I don't follow college football closely enough to get those. So I
Okay.
mean, I can't answer that honestly, but I believe he did. I
Okay.
I don't know.
Well,
So
because the thing with Embiid was that he was basically made out of glass. Like even coming out of Kansas, he had missed a
uh-huh.
good chunk of his games at Kansas. That's why
Mhm.
he would have been the number one pick if he wasn't hurt at Kansas.
Right.
So I think those concerns have always existed with Embiid, and I think it also like Jordan Davis is 6'6", Embiid is like 7'2".
Yeah.
I think there's
Like
a little bit
that's
there.
valid. I mean, that's a big difference. Yeah, I mean, I get it, but like football is also much more of a contact
Yeah,
sport. He's a
yeah,
defensive lineman. He's gonna be clashing bodies all the time, you know.
right.
So, but yeah, so
We
John
will
Gannon
see.
for me, he's kind of weaning his way off the hot seat, but like, I mean, that's so weird coming from me, from somebody who hates him so
Yeah,
much.
it is
It's
weird.
it's weird, but at the same time, like, I'm also like very hopeful. It's very hope like wishful thinking. But I'm like, okay, I hope he just adjusts and like we get some stability with the run defense and he actually blitzes, utilizes his unreal, absolutely unreal defensive line like correctly. I mean, you've Hassan. I said this before. You have Hassan Reddick, but you're not using him to blitz. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, I think
Anyway,
as much as I am concerned about the way it was mostly the pass defense in the Packers game, especially again like that one
yeah,
drive Wall was in. I think he did
yeah.
a really good job mixing up the blitzes.
Yeah, no, I that's the thing. That's one thing. Like I've seen him, he's made good play calls. He really tightened up when it's needed.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I mean, I don't like it. I don't like the bend but don't break kind of scheme and
Mhm.
strategy. But hey, if we get a win in the win column, I'm not mad. And as long as I see statistically, I don't want to see 200 yards rushing against us.
Right.
I would
Yeah.
like to see under 100 yards, maybe around 100 yards. Like I want to see the run being stopped, especially with Derrick Henry coming up, and that's gonna be a big test. Now, outside of the Eagles, how about this NFC East? I was looking at the NFC East playoff picture. I'm sorry, the NFC playoff picture.
Mhm.
It basically is the NFC East playoff picture at this point because right now all four teams in the NFC East are projected to make the playoffs, which would be the first time ever in NFL history. So question I propose is how long do you see that staying? I mean, obviously we have the Commanders Giants game coming up this week, so it's probably not going to stay any further than this week. But is there a real chance that all four teams in the NFC East can clinch playoff spots?
Absolutely. The
Do you
NFC
think it's
sucks. The NFC is awful this year. One of the teams, if there were no division winners, the Commanders would be the sixth seed because they would be above the Buccaneers, who just
for a five
kind
and
of get
six?
in. Yeah, they get
Aren't they
in
five?
because they lead the division. Is
Yeah.
that Ian?
Well, the Bucks are what 5 and 6 or
Yeah,
6 and 6 right now,
five
something
and
like
six.
that.
They're below 500.
Yeah, and then they got the Falcons vault teams right up their tails right now. I
Yeah,
think the Falcons are 5 and 7.
Falcons are 5-7. The
They have their
only
bias,
the only team outside of the playoffs right now that has a winning record is the Seattle Seahawks at 6-5.
which is
So that's
interesting.
that's really the only team that I mean, maybe the Falcons and the Bucks put up a fight and one of them can sneak in the seventh seed. I really don't see that happening.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but like looking at the hunt, I mean, who are the top three teams in the hunt right now? We got the Seahawks, we got the Falcons, And then are the Packers the third team in the hunt right now?
I think so, and they're like 4-8. So
Yeah. I mean, the
really not
NFC is
much
just atrocious. But like looking at those top three teams in the hunt, who do you see? I mean, the likelihood of the NFC East, whole entire NFC East, making the playoff is high
Mhm.
if all the teams keep on winning. But there's also you got the Falcons who are right on the tails of the Buccaneers. Like, is there a possibility for the Falcons to take the division, kind of swoop past the Bucks and kind of steal the NFC South, and the Bucks miss the playoffs? Like, is that a possibility? What do you see happening with the hunt? Do you kind of see everything staying as it is, and it kind of just this is what we're seeing right now is what's going to be the playoffs, or do we see a team like the Seahawks sneak in with the 7th seed?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think either the Falcons or the Buccaneers. I don't think that's going to change. I think the Buccaneers having Tom Brady is enough of a leg up. They'll probably finish like 8-9, 9-8, and finish above the Falcons. As far as the wild card teams, I think the only team that could really drop out is the Giants. They've got a really tough schedule. They've got us 2 more times. They've got the Commanders this week. It's very possible all 3 of those go for losses.
It is,
So if
and
they
then what
lose
that
all
puts
3 of
them
those
at 7
games,
7.
yeah, things would not be looking good for them. I don't know off the top of my head who the Seahawks still have left, but they've been playing good football.
Let me look it up real quick. Actually,
Yeah.
Seahawks. So their final schedule, they have the Panthers. Panthers this. I'm sorry, they have the Rams this week. Then they
Okay.
got
Good.
the Panthers. Then the Niners.
Okay. So
Which
probably 2
all
points
those
off.
games seem pretty winnable.
Yeah.
Okay, so they got Rams, Panthers, Niners, Chiefs, Jets, Rams. They got Rams twice. They got
Okay.
the Chiefs and the
That's
Jets and the Niners.
okay.
So I
If
could see them winning one of the Rams games, maybe both, because the Rams
possibly.
are just bad this year.
Panthers
The
probably.
Panthers game, I see that being a win. But then the Niners, Chiefs, and Jets are all pretty tough matchups.
If they can win, if they can steal one of those, they're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I mean, I had the Seahawks possibly taking the division, but then the Niners got Christian McCaffrey, and now they're getting healthier.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's really in sight anymore. But I would really like to see Geno Smith lead the Seahawks to the playoffs this year.
Yeah. No, definitely that would be a lot of fun. I mean, I think the Commanders spot with the way they're playing. It depends if they seem to regress against the Giants this week and they lose that game, things will be different. But
Right.
just the way that those 2 teams are playing, I don't see the Commanders falling out of the playoffs.
Really? Okay. That kind of sucks though for the Giants. Like Giants fans, like they started 6-1 and like
Yeah.
actually had promise, and they might just miss the playoffs. I mean, they'll be 10-7. I think they'll finish 10-7 or 9-8, and I think if the Seahawks just kind of flop, I think it's still very real that they still make the playoffs with that 7th seed. But you know, we'll see what happens. But flipping to the other side, the AFC, there's another New York team I really want to talk about, and I talked about it briefly earlier. Is the New York Jets. I think the dynamic there is really, really interesting. Obviously, with everything that happened with Zach Wilson, him not taking accountability, it's really funny. Did you see the quote that he had after the what
The
game was it?
Patriots game.
Patriots game where they lost like what 7-3 or like
10-3 it
10-3,
was. Yeah.
10-3, some crap. He said like apparently he didn't let the defense down, even though the
Yeah.
defense played phenomenally, and he just couldn't drive the team down the field. And then now he got benched, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, like I should have done better." Like as soon as he got benched, then he turned around and took accountability, which is really, really funny. Really funny he does that. But now we have this man named Mike White, who is slowly becoming a legend in the NFL, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Last year we saw him start a game against the Bengals. He went off for what 400 yards,
Mhm.
3 touchdowns, but he had 4 picks though, right? Was that
He had
was that right?
3 touchdowns, he had 2 picks.
2 picks. So
Yeah.
yeah, but he was eventually replaced by Zach Wilson. But
Yeah.
now with his performance last week, should we raise the question? Should Mike White be the starting quarterback for the New York Jets? Like, should he permanently replace Zach Wilson at this point?
Yeah, I mean, this for the rest of this year, definitely. He hasn't earned his spot so much as Zach Wilson has lost it.
Mhm.
I mean that you just scored 3 points. I think he had 7 completions for like 70 yards.
Yeah,
So
some
I think the
ridiculous.
question, did you let the defense down, is like the biggest layup question in NFL history, and he
Yep.
like bricked it off the side of the backboard.
Yep.
His career as a Jet is probably over. I think he's just lost all respect in that locker room.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to bring up. I think I think that locker room is more of a believer in Mike White than Zach Wilson, which is funny. It's just funny at this point. I find it very amusing.
Yeah, it is funny. And Mike White, there's a lot of talent there. He's got really good arm talent. He's a really fun player to watch. But as
Mhm.
many games as he has with the 300 yards and 3 touchdowns that he just had last week
Mhm.
versus the Bears, there's a game last year where he had 4 picks, which is the game before he got replaced by Zach Wilson.
Right.
So I think, and then that it should be mentioned that game against the Bengals, 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. That's like very Jameis Winston-esque stat line to me.
Yes. Yes.
I
Yes.
That's just kind of what he strikes
That's
me
a
as.
that's a very, very good comparison. I definitely agree.
Yeah. So
But I think Mike White has better pocket presence in my. I mean that this is being nitpicky a little bit, but I like Mike White. I don't know. I like him this week. Hence my hot take.
yeah,
But I think Mike White for the near future at least. I think he should get the rest of the season to prove himself. And the
definitely.
one big question I want to raise, and I believe the Jets are right on, like they're at the top of the hunt for the AFC playoff picture right now, if I'm not mistaken. Right? They're 7-4,
Yeah. So they currently have the 7th seed in the AFC.
7th seed. Okay. Now with Mike, are those sirens?
Yeah.
That's Philly for you.
It's
That's
probably
Philly.
fun.
Well, probably a shooting or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be all right.
But anyway, does Mike White have what it takes to kind of lead this Jets team to the first playoff berth since 2014, 2015?
20.
Oh, what was the last time they made the playoffs? My gosh.
It was because 2015. I want to say
No,
it was
that
like,
was with Brian Fitzpatrick, right? And they came just short. They finished 10-6 that year.
yep. And Fitzpatrick
Yeah.
had a really good year. I think it was 2012 is the last time they made it.
So wouldn't
It's
that be
been
a
a while.
story? Wouldn't
Yeah.
that be a story? Mike White replaces Zach Wilson. I mean, I think we can both say that the Jets are a quarterback away from being. I mean, their defense, Sauce Gardner, amazing. I think their defense is really, really good. Sucks they lost Brees Hall though. That's a really, really good guy to have in the backfield. I loved him, but
Yeah.
I think the Jets are just a quarterback away from
Yeah.
being a legit
And
contender.
you were saying, put off camera before we started recording, that they are maybe an offensive skill player away. And
Yes.
unfortunately, that offensive skill player might be Brees Hall.
Yeah.
Who's
Exactly.
not available out for the
But
year.
even then, they're sitting right now. They're 7-4. They're in the playoff picture. You know, I mean, if we look at both playoff pictures, the East is kind of running the NFL right now. I mean, AFC, they have 3 AFC East teams in the playoffs
Mhm.
right now. Is it all
And
4 or 3?
the first team on the outside looking in is the Patriots. So the Patriots have the 8th seed.
Yeah. So the East is kind of running the league right now.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
all 4 NFC East teams, 3 of the AFC East teams, with one of them just sitting right outside. I mean,
Mhm.
aren't the Patriots and the Jets both 7-4 right now?
I think the Patriots are 6-5. I mean, whatever the case is, they do wonders for their playoff outlook if they win against the Bills tonight.
Yeah, exactly. So we're getting down to the wire here. So very exciting weeks of football. Oh, I forgot to mention, the Eagles have the ability to clinch a playoff berth this weekend. I forget what the exact scenario is, but we have to win. But the Seahawks have to lose.
Okay.
And there's one other thing. Let me look that up real quick. Before we close out, but I do definitely want to just touch on that. So this, as we get down to the wire here, the Eagles have the chance. We could be coming back here next week and saying that the Eagles are going to be playing in the playoffs this year.
Hmm.
So Eagles playoff clinching. Okay, I'm looking at it right now.
You want to plug the merch as you look that up?
So yeah, so right now I'm repping the merch. The link will be in the bio. You guys can just go in there. We have this. We have PickSwap Media merch. There's all the podcasts we have here on PickSwap Media. merch for everybody, whoever you listen to. You can hop right on there. Great, we would greatly appreciate it. But this is what it looks like. Looks really, really, really nice, really clean. I love it. The sweatshirt's really comfortable. I mean, it's 30 degrees here at Penn State like every day. I've been wearing this all day today. I walked around campus and it feels great. It's very, very comfortable. So I highly suggest. But other than that, look at this sexy logo on there too.
Yeah,
So,
those look great.
but take a look there, guys. We have everything. We have socks. We have hoodies. We have beanies. We have. I don't think we have underwear.
I don't think we do either.
Underwear. But take a look. Be greatly appreciated. Now that I have this up, the Eagles. So the Eagles clinch a playoff berth. If they win, the Commanders lose.
Okay.
The Niners lose or tie, and the Seahawks lose or tie. That's the one scenario. The other scenario is the Eagles have to win, the Commanders have to tie, the Niners have to lose, and the Seahawks have to lose.
Okay.
So it looks like we have to have a lot fall our way for us to clinch a playoff spot this week. But I mean, the first one, I mean, I could see that happening. We need a Eagles win, Commanders loss, Niners loss, and Seahawks loss.
Yeah. I mean, probably not going to happen this week, but I think our playoff spot has kind of been all but assured for
I mean, we're 10-1.
Yeah.
We're 10-1. We already have more wins this year than we had all last year.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not here, biting my nails over clinching the playoff spot this week. I mean, I couldn't really care less as long as we clinch the number 1 seed by the end of the year. That's really
what we're looking forward to.
Yeah. But anyway, I completely forgot about that, and I meant to bring that up, but that's just something interesting and something to look out for this week. So this week, as an Eagles fan, root for the Eagles, root for the Giants, root for who are the Niners?
The Rams and the Dolphins.
Yeah. So we are all Eagles fans, Giants fans,
Rams fans, and Dolphins
fans. Rams fans and Dolphins fans this week. Goodness gracious. Sorry, that's a lot to remember. But anyway, Asher, any final thoughts? Anything else you wanted to talk on?
No final thoughts.
All right, sounds good. You guys know the deal. We will see you back here next week. Enjoy the game tonight, or by the time you guys see this, probably 2 nights ago or last night. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the football. We only have a few more weeks. We're coming down the stretch here for the season. We only got 5 more weeks, sadly enough, plus playoffs. So, with that said, thank you for listening, and we will see you guys next week. Asher?
See you. Go Birds.
Go Birds.